on Master's Mahasamadhi, this year I found myself back at the Biltmore Hotel on that evening, and just, you probably read Swamiji's account. He was taking notes because he knew he would be writing about Master, and Master was saying his poem, and then he collapsed, and Swamiji didn't see it, of course. He was just writing, and he looked up what happened, and someone said, Master fainted or something, and Swami thought, oh no, Master, you're gone. And of course, just imagining that moment and what it must have felt like afterwards. If you've seen the movie The Answer, and it has that scene where they're all at Master's bedside, and you can just, it's palpable, the sorrow and grief, and yet he had left hints, as Abhishek mentioned. They reflected later that, he said this was going to happen, and so why are we so surprised? So what's interesting is I was at Ananda Assisi when Swamiji passed, and so I've been comparing these two experiences, and it was exactly what I just described. Everyone was just heartbroken and shocked, and yet reflecting later that he'd actually said, he'd made some comments, he'd written a beautiful letter. And I read it again recently. I was like, wow, he really was saying his time was almost over. And yet we get kind of blinded because we don't want to think about it. Well, the reason I'm saying this is because we have all this grief. And of course, Master's disciples had all that grief when he passed. But in fact, I have felt Swamiji's presence so much more deeply since he is not in his body, not confined to that body. And I travel a lot, as Abhishek mentioned, and I feel that Master and Swamiji and all the Masters are with me. And I didn't necessarily feel that when Swamiji was still in his body. So again, Master is omnipresent. His energy is bigger, brighter, more tangible, more accessible to us now, as is Swamiji's. And I want to say also the music, all of Master's chants and the Swami's music, music is a wonderful tool for if you're feeling low energy or sad or angry, whatever. There is a song, there's a remedy in music, and it can help lift you up, and it can help shift your consciousness. And we know Master said that his chants are spiritualized, which means that he chanted them until he felt a cosmic consciousness, and they're imbued. The music is filled with that consciousness. So all we have to do is sing, and we can tap into it. And so those are important things to remember, is that it's very accessible to us. Master's teachings, recordings, writings, it's all right there. And same with Swamiji. I will share a funny story. When I first moved to Ananda Village 42 years ago, Shivani was one of the teachers there, and I remember her telling us that Self-Realization Fellowship, Yoga, YSS, had a vault of videos somewhere in Mount Washington, and she was determined. We made these jokes that she was going to dress up in a black ninja outfit and somehow get into that vault and get access to those videos. And she said some unbelievable things. She said there's even a video of Yukteswar's Mahasamadhi, of his body after he left. And maybe you've all seen these videos. They're on the internet. It's amazing. So 40 years ago, they were locked in a vault, and somehow now they're accessible to us. And when one of these comes across my screen here, my little miniature computer, it's just so amazing to watch Master walking and talking and playing in the water. And there's one I saw recently where he's at some waterfall here in India. I want to go to this waterfall, and you just feel he's still alive. So we don't have to grieve that separation, because that veil is very thin if we are attuned. And there's one last thing I want to say, and that is the parallels between Master's life and Swamiji's life are astounding. Not only the way they both left their bodies, but in their lives they both had major betrayals and lawsuits and accusations, false accusations. And I find it interesting that Swamiji had these same experiences that Master had before he came to Master. And to me, it just shows his attunement, that he was so deeply attuned to Master that he even experienced the same kind of traumatic events. And then, at the end of his life, he said, I can't even tell where Yogananda ends and Kriyananda begins. And that was really the case. The difference in the 40 years, 35 that I knew him, he was a young man in his early 40s, and he was, just kind of one of us. There were 150 of us living in teepees and trailers and tents, and he wasn't living in a teepee or a trailer or a tent. But when we first started Ananda, and at the end of his life, he was like Master. I just saw Master when I saw him. So we have so many incredible gifts and ways to touch them and to feel their presence, and most importantly, to become attuned to that consciousness and to the consciousness of all of these great ones.